What's up, guys? Justin Morgan here, Carved Up Vegan Muscle, and today I want to touch on a topic that I see come up quite a bit on the Facebooks and some of the forums, and even here on YouTube you'll see people get into this. But people really like this concept that we are all so different, that our bodies are entirely different, that the needs of one person are vastly different than the needs of another, because our bodies all just work so differently. And there's some truth to that, but not in the way that I think these people intend for it to be, or intend it to say it, or what they mean anyways. And I want to look at it from just a couple of different viewpoints. Number one, if we look at it from a scientific background or scientific eye, then we just basically look at like the Krebs cycle. The cycle by which that we convert what we eat, our nutrients, our macronutrients, with micronutrients being a channel to carry those into energy, into ATP, adenosine triphosphate, or the other forms of energy that we use. So we can convert any of the macronutrients into energy, carbs, fats, or protein. Generally, we avoid using protein for energy, or you should be, because it should be using to build muscle tissue. So we use our DNA, is made up of amino acids, which we get from protein. And then for fats, they play a large role in hormone production and some other things, though you can use fat for energy too. But our primary energy source is the carbohydrate. So carbohydrates are hugely important in the diet. They are the #1 protein-sparing nutrient, even more so than protein itself. So if you are in a caloric deficit and you're trying to lose weight, whether that be through increased activity or through actually decreasing the amount of consumption that you do, then carbohydrates play a huge role. They're vastly necessary. They are great at sparing muscle protein. But when we look at that, we all basically work the same way. There are small differences, I'm sure, from person to person, but if we were all as different as some of these internet commenters, I guess, would have you believe, then there would be no such thing as biology. We could not study the human body because we would all be so vastly different that there would be no possible way that we could come up with conclusions that would make any sense or that would be usable in a scientific arena. So the thought from a scientific perspective that we are all just different and we all have these vastly different needs is entirely foolish. Why would I say then that there is some truth to that? There is some things that these people might say that when they say that is applicable, and that is our personal preference. I think one of the undercounted, I don't know what the best word for it is, the underutilized or underplayed aspects of dieting, of losing weight, of using diet as a way to enact bodily change, to improve your body in a certain way, whether that be for muscle growth or for fat loss, is the aspect of mental factors that go into that. It is a vastly mental game. So if you need some of those fatty foods and you need a higher fat diet in order to feel good about what you eat, to enjoy your food, then I don't think that it's necessarily a good idea for people like myself that prefer higher carbohydrate diets to put those people down. And because they can accomplish a lot of the same things. So I don't know exactly how much carbohydrate I'm consuming. I usually go by calories, and that's the dominant thing. But I'm eating in excess of 600 grams or more of carbohydrate a day, and that is far more than what I need if we are only looking at that macronutrient. And that would assume I could eat less than that, but I would have to adjust my fat and protein intake accordingly. So a lot of the carbohydrate that I eat in the forms of fruit, whole grains, and other root vegetables is primarily due to my personal preference, to the fact that I prefer some of those higher carbohydrate foods. I have a very large appetite, and so for me to find satiety in my diet, it is necessary for me to eat things that are more nutrient dense. Comparatively, carbohydrates would technically be more nutrient dense than a fat, because a carbohydrate has 4 calories per gram, whereas a fat has 9 calories per gram. So that's me personally, but I cannot take my personal preferences and my personal viewpoints and impose them onto someone else just for the sake of winning an argument. That is not necessary. So could those people eat higher fat diets, still consume enough carbohydrate, and fulfill their mental desires, their mental needs for comfort that they might find through food? Yes, absolutely they can. And should we discourage people from doing that? I don't think so. That's not my place. I don't think that it's a good idea to do that. So those are just several different areas. We at least looked at 2 primary ones, and I threw in some other random thoughts in there along the way, but I am not a fan of that argument that, well, we're all different, we all have these different needs. So no, I don't think that we're that different when it comes to biological, physical needs. But when we are talking in terms of mental stability and the way that we feel from eating certain foods, then yes, I think there is a huge factor. And the last thing that I will say to leave you off on this thought is that there have been people put on anabolic steroids, and as a result of being on those anabolic steroids and a control group being put on a placebo and being told that it's an anabolic steroid, they got similar results for a little while. Now, in the end, the anabolic steroid group kept making much, much faster progress over the course of, however many weeks the study was done, or studies were done. But that group that was just told and given a placebo and just said you're on steroids, they made a lot of steroid-like progress. So there is also something to be said for believing in your mind that a food will produce a certain result. And I think that also is a factor that ethically I'm not sure how I would approach from a counseling perspective in terms of talking to those people, but it's definitely something to consider, I guess. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you're all doing well. Take it easy. Leave your comments in the comments section below. Maybe you have another perspective on it that I didn't even think of. I'd love to hear it. You guys take it easy, and I'll talk to you soon.